Welcome once again to the channel. I'm your host Octane, and today we're going to take a look at the new deck that's out for the Earth Slayer event that starts in a few hours. And this deck is a beast killer deck, and the ultimate form, I believe, is a really good utility card. This is your ultimate form, and it's called Protectors of Prosperity. And this card will increase Earth Slayer's attack by 200% for 2 turns. It will also create 5 Earth Power Gem 6s. When ambushing, it will increase this attack from 200% to 2000%, which is really good. So going forward, I believe that this card is quite a good card for Earth Slayer decks. So this is very nice to add to your utility cards. It's got ambushing on it, and for those of you who are not really familiar with the game, you're new to the game, ambushing is a mechanic that's got a one-time use. So the first time you activate your battle skill for this card, or most cards, well, any card really that's got ambushing on it, you basically increase either the amount of power gems that you create, or you do something else. For this one, it increases your attack from 200% to 2000%, which is quite brilliant. So it's got another passive on it which will give you a revive. So once per battle, instead of dying, it will revive and reset ambushing for all Earth Slayer heroes. So it's all Earth Slayer heroes that's got ambushing on it. Now this is quite nice. I really like this card. I think it's really a really good addition to almost all my utility cards that I've got in my deck. Primarily because since the introduction of Gem Crush 2.0, it's changed the scope of the game quite dramatically. Before 2.0, we used to have mixed affinity deck. Now it's always advisable to use single affinity decks, because when you crush the gems, you get an increase in your attack. Now this card also dispel armor. Armor is not really a tough debuff. However, it's a debuff that can waste a lot of time because you have to play it for 5 turns before you can actually attack if you're hit by armor. So it's not really a bad one, but it is a time waster. So you've got a third passive, which is once per turn when an attack or damage buff activates, this card will heal you for 2000% of its recovery. That's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, especially because the decks now have got very high health. 2500%, even if you've got a scepter on board, it's not really gonna heal your deck from, say, it's not gonna heal it from very low straight up to full health. It's not gonna do that, but it will give you a bit of heal. Now this card is really a nice card. Is it one to go for? If you've got the coins, you can craft this one. It's a really good utility card. However, I wouldn't say go too deep for it. Be very shrewd when it comes to your gems and it comes to your money. Now this is the Master Collection card. Now the Master Collection card for me is not really a good Master Collection card. It's Amet the Guardian, and Amet will create 5 Earth Power Gem 5s if there is an attack or damage buff active. So if you haven't got an attack buff or a damage buff active, it will not create 5 Power Gem 5s. It will create 3 Power Gem 5s, which personally for me, it feels almost like a event card rather than a Master Collection card. So I'm pretty disappointed with this Master Collection card, really disappointed with this Master Collection card. It's got a passive which revives you and reset ambush, but that doesn't really make this Master Collection card really powerful or make it a good Master Collection card. It's a really, really disappointed Master Collection card. I'm really disappointed in Network for giving us a Master Collection card like this. It doesn't really create much power gems. It doesn't really do much for the deck per se. Apart from the revive, it doesn't really do a lot. It does dispel chaos, which can be a nasty debuff, but there's other cards that you can use to actually dispel chaos. Personally, I'm pretty disappointed with the Master Collection card. Ultra Rare, however, is far better than its Master Collection counterpart. It will increase Earthslayer's attack for 200% for 2 turns. When ambushing, it will increase Earthslayer's attack for 2000% instead. Now this is a far better card than the Master Collection card. So if you're lucky enough to get a copy or 2 of the Ultra Rare, it's really good. You've got a really good card, a really good utility card. If you haven't managed to get the Ultimate Form, it's a really good utility card to add to your collection. It's quite good. Now, it's got ambushing, it's got a second passive, and the second passive once per turn. When an attack or damage buff is activated, when an attack buff or damage buff activates, it heals you for 2,500% of your recovery. Again, that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it does help. Every little helps. Now we're gonna take a look at the support card. Now, personally for me, support cards have only got one purpose in the game, and that's to basically be dust, to get dust, to craft your ultimate forms. That's the only purpose these cards have actually got in the game. You can't use them to do much when it comes to building deck. When it comes to deck building, don't look at support cards. They don't do anything for you. I really think support cards, event cards, needs a bit of revamping. They need to be looked at. Now this is a support card. It will create 8 Earth Gems. Now, as I said last week, if this was a card that created 8 Power Gem 1s or even 5 Power Gem 1s, it would have been quite brilliant as a support card. It's got a 2-turn cooldown. It's got a passive on it, which increases the drop rate of Earth Gems. That in and of itself doesn't really do much. You will not notice a lot of gems on the board, even if you've got a card that can destroy all gems on the board or all non-Earth gems on the board. You won't really see or feel the effect of this passive. It's not really a brilliant passive. This is not really a brilliant support card. I haven't seen a brilliant support card in a very long time. So for me, support cards aren't really that important, and they aren't really my favorite cards anymore. So we're gonna take a look at the event card. So the event card for this week is called King Garuda, and this one will create 5 Earth Power Gem 2s if there is an attack or damage buff, otherwise it creates 3. Again, pretty disappointed event card, pretty disappointing. If it had said create 5 Earth Power Gem 2s, which would have been disappointing because I would expect your event cards to start creating Power Gem 4s and Power Gem 3s, not going back to Power Gem 2s and Power Gem 1s. Pretty disappointing. The method of the game as it stands, we need cards that's gonna give us boost. We need cards that's gonna create quite a bit of power gems, because you need to create power gems and gems on the board, not really gems but power gems, so that you can get your gem crush to create power gems of higher level. Now this only creates 3 if you haven't got a damage or attack buff active. What's 3 gems gonna do? So if you've got 2 Master Collection cards on this on board and you haven't got a damage or attack buff active, you're only gonna create 9 power gems. The game has moved on from the time when you used to be happy to have 2 power gems on the board. We are long past those days. Those days are gone. This one again will dispel chaos. Hasn't got any passive. Pretty poor. So the deck overall for me is a poor deck. It's a very poor deck. It's a very weak deck on its own because it doesn't create a lot of power gems. It needs help. It needs help from other cards that's gonna generate quite a bit of power gem to give it that massive bang for your buck. Now if you go into my collection and we have a look at some of the cards that I've got in my collection, these are just some of the cards. So I've got this one, Furious Goblin Jockey, which is a quite old ultimate form. This card, this deck came out in 2018, around about, yeah, I think it was Christmas 2018 this one came out, so it's quite an old card, but nevertheless I've got 3 pink stars and it will give me 800% attack damage, which is quite nice because a 1 pink star ultimate form now will give you 9, so that's just a reduction of 100%, which doesn't really matter that much. It gives you an ultimate gem as well. Creates 6 Earth Power Gem 2s and it plays a Earth Power Gem 4 trap for 1 turn. So when you get hit by an enemy, it will create 3 Earth Power Gem 4s and it will increase the attack of all Earth Slayers up to 44% for 2 turns. That's not a lot. We've got cards that does as you can see, we've got cards that give us 2000%, so 44% is not a lot in the grand scheme of things. Back then this was a lot, but now it's not a lot. This one will cost you 25 skill points before you can actually activate its battle skill. It's a really nice card, not really powerful, but it's a really nice card to actually have in your arsenal. Now this one is a earlier, it's quite earlier one comparing to Goblin Jockey. This one came out last year, I think it was last year October, and this one is the Unquiet Ones, and it is a beast killer as well. So as I said, we are now tripling up on our killer skills, and this one, it applied Twisted Silence to 3 Earth Slayers. Twisted Silence create 2 Earth Power Gem 4s each time that era is attacked. It lasts for 1 turn. It's got a 4 turn cooldown, and this is Twisted Silence. Each time this era attacks, it creates 2 Earth Power Gem 4s. It also increases Earth Slayer attack up to 30%. Just like Goblin Jockey, it starts at a lower rate and it increases as your skill points increase. It also creates a ultimate gem as well. Ultimate gem doesn't really do a lot for your deck, doesn't give you that massive bang that you would expect it to give you. So if you got those cards and you've got a current deck, you can put 3 ultimate forms on board. This would give me 8 from Furious Goblin Jockey. It would give me 9 from this one, and I would get 4 from that one, so that's quite a bit of damage boost. However, this combination will not create a lot of power gems for you, so you won't get a lot of crush. Now if you move across, this is probably a good combination if you haven't got current deck. So if for whatever reason you didn't manage to get the current event deck, if you've got the Furious Goblin Jockey, you can use it with Hardworm Gorillas, you can use it alongside Jailers, Defiant Duet. If you haven't got this card, Flourishing Fairies, you don't have to worry. Just put a card in there that's gonna create a bit of power gems for you, and this is a nice deck, will give you a really good bang for your buck. It is a non-event deck, and it is a deck that can perform really well within the event. Now this one I think is going to do quite well. This one, you've got the jailers. Now the jailers will increase the enemy turn count. It will create 5 power gem freeze, 1 more per 100 arcane killer intensity, but the Pionstone resistance. The bang behind this card is whenever a hero delays the enemy turn count, it increases arcane killer attack by 1200%. Now we're gonna increase, we're gonna have a turn delay twice, once from the jailers and once from this card, Defiant Duet. Now Defiant Duet is gonna create power gems for you, and it's gonna create quite a few power gems for you. You're gonna get your boost from this card on your first activation of your battle skill, which will give you 2000% for all Earthslayer hero, and this one is going to give you 2000% for all Earthslayer heroes, so that's 4000% we're talking already. Now this one, because you're gonna get 2 turn delays, you're talking 2400% increase to arcane killer. And this is an arcane killer hero. Now this one is gonna do massive damage. It's gonna take all of that buff. It's gonna do a massive attack on its first attack and it's gonna get a attack buff, and attack buff will strike a second time, dealing exactly 100% of the main attack, and that will be times 5 if you use 3 keys. So this card is going to do massive damage, mega damage. Only thing you need is quite a bit of power gems on board, and you've got yourself a killer deck. Now this one I think is a killer deck. You could remove, say, this card and put another card in there that's going to create quite a bit of power gems for you. You will reduce your amount of buff, but you will make up for it in power gem creation. So that's 3 combinations, but I think this one and this one are far better than the first one that I showed you, and those two will perform much better than the current event deck. Now these are the some cards that I threw together. They probably are better cards, better deck that you can create when the event starts. Try out a lot of cards, see how they work out. I'm gonna do the same when the event starts. I'm gonna play around with cards, play around with combinations, see what works, see what doesn't work. And tomorrow what I'll do, I'll showcase the best deck that I find, and I'll showcase these ones as well, show you how they perform. So until tomorrow, when we look at possible deck combination, like, subscribe, and this is Octane saying peace. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye for now.